Hello, my name's Steve and you are listening to the Go Footballing Podcast. This is the podcast that talks all about grassroots football, whether you are a coach, a player, a parent, a referee, or you just got a love for the game. Sit tight, you are in the right place. So on the lineup this week, we are going to be talking tactics versus basics. Just a quick look into what we should be doing for each age group, what benefits we have, and should we continue doing the basics when we're looking at tactics, and what should the split be? So rather quickly this week, let's get into it. I've got to say, I love both of these things. I really like tactics. I have my coach's board out every single time that I've got a game, and I absolutely love getting the tactics right with the players that I've got, whether that be the boys or the girls. But I also really like the basics, and the basics for me never let you down. And I think it's really important for anyone that's playing in grassroots football to be looking at the basics and learning the basics all the way through. Doesn't matter what age group you are. I think if you're under sevens, you're learning the basics of football. Now, what do the basics of football really look like? Most people are just going to say the same things. It's going to be dribbling and it's going to be passing and shooting. So are those the main things that are the best things that you need to do for basics? Before we get into the tactics section and you know what sort of split should we do with those? Well, I think it's really important that everyone that is playing football at any age and at any level is able to have the basic skills that they need. Now, that doesn't mean that they need to be perfect at them. It just means being able to practice them and maybe understand them too. Like I say, tactics don't really mean anything if you've not got the basic skills to be able to do it. It's like anything, you know. If you know what it is but you don't know how to do it, then you know it's very difficult to be able to do. And that's the same that I always find with basics. You know, basics for me, they build a little bit of bravery. They help with your tactical creativity further down the line. So what do we need to put into sessions as coaches? And, you know, as parents, what are we expecting? And players, what do you need for that? Referees, we'll leave you out of it for a little bit because, you know, you're only refereeing. Although, you know, no ref, no game. So still much respect to them. So yeah, it's the basics. What are we looking at really? Well, it depends really. I think it depends on the age group. So like we've already mentioned, you know, age groups make a lot of different things, and how sessions should be set out for tactics versus the basics of being able to learn them. Probably split something like this. Now you might have a different opinion of how we split or what I'm suggesting are good splits. But some key points I would say for coaches and also for players and parents that are expecting it as well. I would say that let's look at the age groups and we'll try and bunch them into kind of three areas really. Now there'll be some that are outside of that, some that are more developed, some that are not. But let's just try and work them into a kind of order. So I would say let's go for under 5s to under 9s. Okay, let's look at that age group first. So I think that the focus really for those is that we would need to be looking at 90% basics. 90% basics. So what do I mean by basics? Is it just the things I mentioned earlier? No, I think there's a few more things we can add into it apart from that too. I would say ball mastery, absolutely really important. If we can master the ball and we can, you know, control the ball and we're really confident with the ball at our feet, we're really confident of being able to do a number of things with it, like movement, like being able to pass, correctly pass, and we learn all of the fundamental skills of where your feet need to be able to make a pass. You know, could we do some little cheats in there too, especially for the very youngers? You know, under 5s, they're 4 years old, 4s and 5s, they're only just starting school. You know, they're not going to know about making triangles in football pitches and all those kind of things. But what we do want them to do is fall in love with the game as well, have a real understanding of some other basics. So what's some other basics that they might look into to do? Well, finding space. So, you know, using games to find space, using areas to find space. They're the kind of things that we need to be looking at. And I think we need to be looking at maybe around the 90% of your sessions. 90% of the understanding, really, I suppose, of football at that time is ball mastery, probably movement. Can we build some confidence in there? Can we get some other core skills in too? So when we're looking at core skills or core moves, I've been able to pass it in a straight line or a diagonal line. Are we able to find movement in those areas? And they're really, really important. Now, you will get some players under 9s that are just brilliant. I had an under 9s group last year, and some of the goals that they scored, I can't believe they've actually scored many of them. In fact, if you head over to the Facebook page, you'll see them. I've just posted some of the goals that they scored last season as well. And like, you know, I'm talking like off the crossbar, a half volley or a full volley into the top bins during a game whilst opposed, you know. So, I mean, great, really. However, if we're looking at it, what is that? Probably a basic, really. Just timing. We're just looking at things like, can we time where the ball is going to be? You know, it's not really a tactic, is it? It's just movement. Am I in a space that I need to be in? Yes, you are. How we've worked out how to find those things. So I think that is one of the main things that we need to be able to look at as well. And I think that under 5s to under 9s, like I say, a big focus on the basics. That means that we could be doing a lot of what I call them practices, but some people call them drills. But we could be doing a lot of technical practices as opposed to small-sided games. However, small-sided games, people generally learn loads through those, especially if you keep stopping them, and especially if you want to do things like finding space. So great to have those in. But yeah, that's what we'd be looking at, really. So when you're thinking about tactics, what are the tactics that you're looking at for things like movement? Well, that's the 10% that we're looking at, really. The rest of it, we just want them to be able to be really confident on the ball, more time on the ball. That's why they're bringing the 3v3 in, you know, in the coming seasons. So they get more ball time, they get more ball rolling time, they get more touches, and they're able to learn all of the skills that they need to be able to learn. So let's go on to the next age group that we're looking at. I'd say the next age group then is let's go under 10s, under 12s. And a good reason for that, really, is that's because we over 13s generally, most age groups, or most leagues, should I say, and counties generally move to 11 aside after that. So how should we be looking at that then? So under 10s, so we're looking at still like 9 years old, down to 9 years old. So this will probably change depending on whether you are under 10, under 11, under 12. Pardon me. However, but I would say that you're looking at around 70-30 split, because now you're playing 9 aside, so you're playing slightly more tactical. The pitches are bigger, the area's more space for you. You've already been learning 90% of the ball mastery that you're looking at. So I think that when we're looking at simple tactics too, you know, for a lot of grassroots teams, remember these are, you know, we're not playing in the Premier League. We're not playing in, you know, it's not an elite. Grassroots is not always about elite players playing, you know, it's about fun, it's about excitement, it's about, you know, falling in love with the game, it's about enjoyment, it's about all those things. But I'd say that even if we are looking at all those things, all the enjoyment and the fun and all those kind of things, still looking at 30%, I think that we should still be looking at tactics. And I still look at tactics with my current under 10s that have had a great run, by the way. So we had a terrible start to the season, but they finished strong. They've won the last 3 games. Absolutely. I think they scored 18 in 3 games. So, and let in 2. You know, massive contrast to the beginning of the season as well. I mean, they were losing 1-0 and the ball was going in the 50th minute. That's another story. I can tell that on another podcast. So yeah, we're still looking at. So what kind of tactics are we probably looking at there? Well, probably looking at things like how to press as a team. You know, how to spread wide, how to drop back and make a low block if we need to make a low block, how we can manage a game. You know, how do we need to manage a game in a certain way? So, you know, for example, under 10s, especially with the under 10s that I've been having this season, they're all playing in the MJPL. When there's we have to play retreat rule. So play retreat, players run the halfway line. Now they're so tempted to run forwards, you know. Before I got this team as well, they were just bombing forward. And I was like, guys, what are you doing? Come on, lads, this is what we're going to do. The tactics that we're going to learn here is holding our shape. We're going to look to when we can steal it. That was one of the team practices that we had. The other one we also had was if we needed to press high. So could we press high and then could we recover quickly? So if we were wanting to chase the game because we were losing, maybe we wanted to absolutely go for it. We wanted more opportunities to score more goals and take more shots. And we wanted that as a bit of a development part. And bear in mind that it is all about development. Or are we winning a game and do we want to use different skills of just seeing a game out? So do we do a low block? Do we change our formation? Do we change our shape? All of those things, I think about 30% comes in there. But 70% in those games, especially on the smaller pitches when you're playing 7 aside rather than the 9 aside, 100% I think that you should be looking at 70% of basics. So again, still learning, getting that 10,000 hours in, or that magical 10,000 that someone has come out with somewhere, because I've read it lots of places and I've seen it come up in lots of places and I've seen lots of other coaches talk about it too. So that means obviously it must be true, right? But yeah, I definitely think about those kind of numbers. And then let's go on to under 13s. Now, where do we go with under 13s and onwards? Because, you know, we're looking right up to sort of like adult ages here. What are the basics that we need to learn, and how much of it is going to be tactics? Well, we move to 11-a-side. So when you move to 11-a-side, there's no option really then other than to add some tactics in. You need to. And the reason why you need to is that the pitches are huge. So we can't just play that game of, cattle herding with everyone just chasing after the ball. It just doesn't work on those kind of pitches. And I think that most grassroots referees, they understand the way of being able to do that. I've got a few practices that I do of being able to help people find space and where to find space. It's just something really simple actually on tactics of getting players to spread out as well. Is obviously just split your 5 lanes up and just say, every time we are in possession, do we have a player in each lane? Do we have a player in each lane? If we do, then we start spreading out. We start making tactics, and we can start using that from the under 12s, I suppose. But when we get to under 13s, and we've got the 5 lanes, and it's the 5 wide lanes of a proper pitch, if you like, or a mini 11-a-side. We can split those in, and it's going to make so much more space, because that way, the more space that you have, what do you have? Well, you've got more time, better use of your basic skills that you got, of being able to control it. First touch, can we make a pass? Can we decide to dribble? Can we do all of these things that are all the basic skills that you want people to have been able to learn? And players, we want them to be able to learn that right the way down from the under 5s right the way into the under 13s. We can look at some more complex formations. We can look at gameplay. We can look at things that you would do for free kicks. By the way, this is something that got me today. So I had a game today, under 14s, and a massive pass back. Not from ours as well. We were going to get the free kick. So we got the free kick, and it was inside the area because the keeper had picked it up. And the ref went over and actually said the player said, is this direct or indirect? Because, sometimes, under 14 girls, they were just sort of like, they just wanted to confirm it. And the ref said, it's direct, but you have to pass it. What's that about? Come on now. Okay, so that one's just my little dig from today, really. That should have been on the pitch, really, shouldn't it? So I'll have to bring that one back out again, I suppose. So, again, just going back to these under 13s, 50% basic, 50% tactics, 100%, because we've spent the time, or they should have spent the time already in the earlier ages doing the basic skills that they need. So now we can start adding tactics in. Now what can we start adding with those? Well, we can start adding proper things like proper low blocks in there. So I refereed a game at an academy in the week, and it was a under 16 girls team against an under 15 boys team, and the tactics on here were pretty spot on. So in the first half, the girls knew that if they were on a one-on-one race with the boys, probably going to lose. They were probably going to lose about 70-30, 30 time, okay? And this is what their coaches also thought exactly the same, because I spoke to them afterwards too. So they went for a full low block. So even if there was a goal kick, they all in their own half, and they made it so there was absolutely no space, so that the other team had to try and play through them so that they were able to take shots or get the ball off or anything like that. Now, the boys were winning 1-0 up until half-time, but it was a lucky deflection that went in. It weren't a good goal or anything like that. The girls' tactics actually worked. So they looked at, where are we going to be weak? Well, as soon as we play further forwards and there's a load of space in behind the defenders and the goalkeeper, the boys are going to lump it in there as well. They're going to put a race on with a defender against a striker. The boys are probably going to win that a number of times, so they decided, right, that's not our tactic. Our tactic is we are going to fend really deep, and we're going to have every player in front of that ball in our own half. We're going to make them play through us. And to be fair, they stole the ball a lot. Not only did they steal the ball a lot, they countered. They weren't as quick at countering as what they maybe should be, but it was a hot night. The weather's turned. It's got a bit warmer. And yeah, they were huffing and puffing by the end of it as well, because they were countering really, really well. But tactics worked perfect for them, okay? And then into the second half, when they were chasing the game, massive high press, loads of pressure on the team as well. So, great tactics to be able to have. Now, what other tactics can we have? Well, formations are definitely one of them. We can look at individual roles within the game too. But again, 50-50, and everyone's got to know what they are. So, are tactics more important than basics? I would say no and yes. Okay, so I'm kind of on the fence, not kind of on the fence here as well. I just think that they apply at different stages. So I think the under fives to under nines, I think it's all about basics. Just learn the basics. Just get that ball, get it mastered, get the ball moving. Think about being confident on it. Think about things like eyes up. Great basic skill of just getting your eyes up to be able to see around what's there. And add in small-sided games where you can be able to do that. That could be 2v1s or 3v1s, because that way the younger players, they've got enough time on the ball, so they've got more time. They've got more chance of being able to use those basic skills that they've got to be able to execute them and use them in a game where they're not under as much pressure. So when they've done that enough times and they've got all the skills that they need, they've had enough practice at it, they can use it in a game where they can maybe go, instead of 3v1, they can go 2v1 into 3v3, and then maybe even be an underloaded team of a 3v4, because they can think about space and they can think about all these things as they move through under 10s to under 12s to under 13s. So I think it just really depends on where you are stage-wise in your football journey, but especially with age groups, I think it's very different. And again, the reason why I think that is that we go five-a-side now. Is there much tactics in five-a-side? All defend together, all attack together. Kind of sit back a little bit, kind of don't. If you were to say to a 4-year-old who's under fives, or a 6-year-old, maybe under sevens, to do something, they're not always going to know what you mean, even though it makes perfect sense to us as parents on the side, honestly. And I've got a personal experience of this. I might have mentioned it before. When my daughter started playing football, I was saying to her, I was shouting across, get in the box, and she was very young. And I just realised I'd not explained it properly. She just turned around to me and went, "What's the box?" With her saying that, that's the kind of basics that they needed to learn, okay? And that was she was with another team. I wasn't coaching her as well. I wasn't aware that she didn't really know that, because I thought that she might have learned that as a basic. But that gives you an idea of learning the basics, so that when you are making those things of, make sure you're on side. Again, it's kind of a tactic, but it's the basics, isn't it? It's the basics of, where do you need to stand if you're marking someone? Where would you need to be? What foot would you use? If you've got a player on your left-hand side, what foot would you use if you're trying to go past them? If someone's got their back to you and they're sideways on and you're one-on-one with them, the basics is, which way do we go? It's not really a tactic, is it? Whereas when we get further into games as well, we're looking at more tactics. And, as part of a game today with 2 teams, under 17s, it was first against second, and they actually paid to have not only a referee but 2 linos as in booked referees as well. So county assigned referees attend the game as well, because they thought it was that close to the top. So we say it's not elite as well, but some people obviously do think that. But yeah, they did that on purpose, but you know what, we saw so many tactics within the game, and I think that some of the tactics are also coming out, not even just on the pitch, and not just on the coach's board. I think you're also getting a lot of tactics, especially with a couple of the dark arts that I've talked about before, of coaches on the side trying to influence games massively. Like today, honestly, I could not tell you the amount of times that both sets of coaches were trying to influence us as officials in an actual game. I don't really see that as a good kind of tactic. I can kind of see why, because sometimes it helps. But yeah, it's not a tactic that I would say is a good tactic for it. So let's just wrap this one up then, really. I've given you a little bit of an insider of where I've been this week and what I've been doing. I'll talk about more of those next week, though. But yeah, just to give you this one as well. Look, tactics, they're nothing without technique. They're useless. Can't use them as well. Look, modern players, they need to be adaptable. They need to be able to have all those basic skills that they need so that they can create the tactical awareness that they need to make it a more modern, fluid game. Where positions are constantly changing, and also the game is constantly changing as you're playing in there. It'll help us build a lot of players build up the basics and bravery that they need. It'll support with tactical creativity later on in their football. And like I just said too as well, look, grassroots football, it's not pro football, okay? It's not elite. You don't need tactical plans for absolutely everything as well. But a certain level, like I say, from under 13s, I think 50-50s are probably really good. I think if we do have too many tactics sometimes, and you do it too early, it can choke the creativity. We want those players that are young to, if they've got the basic skills of being able to dribble, we want them to dribble, we want them to shoot, we want them to do all of the things that they can naturally do, because then they'll be able to do it and decide what they where that takes them in their football journey too. But then again, too much tactics, turn people into robots. Let's not do that too. Let's make sure we've got the right level of basics and the right level of tactics. Let's make sure we've got both of those. So before I do go, I hope that you've all had a lovely Easter, and I hope that you've all had a nice little break. Maybe a couple of you have finished your seasons. I didn't say this at the start of the podcast and the start of the show as well, but if you do want to email into us, it's just gofootballpod@gmail.com. That'll get straight through to me. Let me know what you think about your tactics. Let me know what you think about your basics. Would you add them in? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there anything else that I maybe missed out? If there is, email in or go to one of the socials, take a look. All the socials as well. You can always get that at Go Football Coaching, and you can get that on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on all of those things too. So, go and take a look at some of those as well. And I will speak to you, and I will be back next week with a new show. So, goodbye.